Sorry I'm late. I was making myself some coffee and had a spill and yeah, it was life. Oh, I thought let's see. Okay. Well, yesterday we were working on the knit doily style washcloth, and I promised to come back today and talk to you about when you get to round 18, because the pattern there changes and it can be a little confusing. So if you were doing, most of you probably weren't, but if you were following along, this is up to round 17. Okay, so it's good. You're going to be able to see the pattern emerging, that pinwheel look. I was thinking of like poinsettia leaves kind of pinwheel. It looks really pretty in red. So when you get to round 18, there's some different instructions on here than what you've been doing, which was just a yarn over and then knitting across and then knitting the opposite round. You're still going to be knitting all the alternating rounds until you get to the 31st round, and that's when you do a purl around. But that's for another time. I'm only going to do a couple of rounds of this. So this particular one, it says yarn forward, knit 1, yarn forward, knit 2 together, knit 6. So what we're doing is in the picture, I don't know if you went and looked at the pattern, but if you can see, if I can get it to focus, you can see those little lacy looking areas. Those are all yarn overs. And knit 2 togethers. So it makes this really pretty open pattern. And I would show you the one I already have finished, but it's in the wash right now, so I can't really bring it. Hello to all the people who are watching. So when you start round 18, you're going to do the usual yarn forward, yarn over. You're going to knit 1. Oh, before I get any further, if you forget what round you're on, because maybe you weren't, hi Katie, maybe you weren't keeping as close a track, or you lost, hi Gabe, or you lost your hash marks or whatever that you were using to keep track. One of the reasons why I put my stitch marker here is so this is the first repeat. I will always know what we're doing. So for example, if I were, I didn't leave a count and I needed to do yarn forward or yarn over, knit 5 8 times, make sure I have 1 2 3 4 stitches here. I have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, and this would have been the yarn forward, the yarn over for the last round. So if you have that first repeat marked off with your round marker, that will help you know which round you're on, so you can keep track with this particular one. So let's start with round 18. You're going to yarn over, you're going to knit 1, and you're going to do a second yarn over. Okay, so we've got 2. And then you're going to knit 2 together, and I've shown you this before. You don't go into this stitch, you go into the second stitch as if you're going to knit it. And you have to go through, if you can get the needle through, both stitches. See, got an X, got your X, just like doing a regular knit stitch, yarn over. Now the reason you're going to be doing that is for two reasons. One, you're doing a decrease to cause the pinwheel shape to turn, but also because we're adding stitches and they don't want to add too many at once. So then we're supposed to knit 6. So we're going to do 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay. So that's what you'll have, is a yarn over, a knit 1, and a yarn over, and then these 2 together, and you can see they have kind of a bit of a twist. And 1 2 3 4 5 6. All right, and I have a sip of coffee. Hopefully I don't spill. All right, so let's do the next one. Hi, Jay. So we're going to yarn over, knit one, yarn over, go in, and use your fingers, work it in, pull it through, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And you're going to find that you're starting to get a lot of stitches on your needle, and it can be a little disconcerting. When you reach a certain point, you can use a small size 7 circular needle to help finish it out, but it doesn't really work very well using it. Just keep squishing your stitches together. It'll work out. If you are worried about them slipping off the end, use point protectors. Hi, Packy. You can use point protectors on the ends. You'll have to remove them while you're working, but they'll hold things in place too if you're really super worried about the stitches slipping off. But if you're just careful and just smoosh them together while you're not, using a particular needle, you should be just fine. Yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, 2, 4, 6, 8. So we've got 8 stitches, but we've got to knit 2 together. By the way, Gabriel, thank you so much. The book is really super pretty, and I really can't wait to try some of the recipes. Gabriel got me a Pride and Prejudice with Martha Stewart tea time yummy things in it, and it's really neat. All right, so, and this needle's getting in the way of me showing you, but you can kind of see now we're starting to get a little spread between them. All right, knit 6. All right, needle 2, and you'll also notice that the bigger that this gets, the easier it is for the needles to obviously hang out of your way. So we're going to do a yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 2 together. Oh, come on. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. You can see how when you knit those yarn overs, how they get that nice little kind of ropey look to them. It makes them a little firmer so they don't stretch too much. Cotton has a lot of stretch but not a lot of give. It'll stretch out, but you will end up yarn. Okay, so I gotta get my arms. I'm gonna move this just slightly this way so I can set my arms a little better. There we go. So yarn over. That's much better. Yarn over. I just realized I left Batman Beyond running in the background. I should probably go turn that off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now I'm actually going to go over something that will happen when you get like to the end of a double pointed needle. That's happened to me, is sometimes I am confused. Just leave it running? Okay. Sometimes what'll happen is your yarn will twist and you'll end up, well, see, now I've already knit it, so it's not going to do it. but you'll end up with, like, it seems like you've got too many stitches, and what'll happen is your yarn will twist and flip a little, and so you'll have the two legs showing. And what'll happen is you'll accidentally knit the one stitch is two stitches. When you get back around, what you can, and if you notice it later, you can just go back and just knit the two together. It's the easiest way I find to deal with that. So if like it's at the end here, it would be flipped around. See, it's hard to do. So it'd be flipped around so you see two stitches versus one. Just be aware that that can happen. I've been doing this for too long, so it doesn't happen nearly a lot anymore, but it is what it is. I'm a little groggy today, I apologize, so I'm trying to be... Okay, so now we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, what did I forget to do? I forgot to do my knit two together. So I ended up with 2 extra stitches and I was confused. So what I do is you go in. Okay, you see this? This is your needle. This is the one that's on your hook or on your needle. This is the one that's still, that's the last row. Just go into it. Slide that off. Keeps the twist. And of course, be careful. All right, so we're back at our yarn over. See, even I make mistakes, but I got thinking about stuff and not paying attention. All right, knit 2 together. And purl 2 together is exactly as you'd think, as if you're purling. You go in the 2 with the yarn in front. And purl the 2 together. It's the exact same thing as you would think. Yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 2 together. This also creates a lean to the stitch that is a right leaning. Slip slip knit will do a left leaning, and that's not so important in a lot of things, but in lace work it's very important. And this is technically a form of lace work because it has open work areas with solid areas. Okay. All right, we're just about to the end of our 3rd needle. Yarn over, knit 1, yarn over. The nice thing about this particular pattern is it has a logical progression. And so that's really nice when you're new, because you really can start to see exactly where it is you're going with this, and you can anticipate what the next round will be. Now I'm going to do 1 knit round here. Actually, I take that back. So that's what it would be for 8 rounds, 18 through 30. Okay, is you're going to be doing your yarn over, a knit 1, and then a repeat. So it'll say it's here, yarn forward, knit 1. So it's a yarn over, knit 1, and then here you have to repeat a yarn over, knit 2 together twice, knit 5, go back, yarn over, knit 1, knit 2 together, yarn over again, knit 2 together twice, knit 5, and that creates a smaller and smaller point on the pinwheel. When you get to round 30, you're doing that 7 times, this repeat, usually in any knit pattern or crochet pattern. If it's in brackets of some kind, that's a repeat. And this is how many times you repeat that. The last row is a purl. And then, or the row 31, instead of being a knit, is a purl. And row 32 is an increase in the next stitch, knitwise, knit 15. So what that means is, you remember I did the knit and, knit into the front and back of the stitch. That's what they mean. Another way to increase is called a make one. This particular pattern did not specify what kind of increase. So what I have done traditionally is a knit into the back and front. But since I've already showed you that, what I might do is show you what a make one left would look like. Because there's make one left and make one right. And I will show you what a make one would look like for this pattern. Because why not, right? So let's do a purl. Oh, come on. Let's do a purl round. We'll pretend that I hit round 30 and now I'm getting close to casting off. So let's do a purl row. Purl all the stitches. And that can be a little, when you're gonna have a lot of stitches, it can feel a little hard to deal with. But if you found that having a pillow underneath to help balance everything when you started is still helping you, keep doing that. It really will make things better. Okay, don't forget your stitch, your round marker. See, one of the things I do when I purl stitch, because I know it's going to be looser, is I tug it snug. Not tight. You don't want it tight because then because it's already going to be a looser stitch. So just give it a little tug to just kind of snug it up on the stitch. So that you still got a teeny bit of space, but you don't need a ton of space. Hoping you can see all right how to do a purl. And I'm using all of my fingers to basically hold everything in place. People who knit by doing the throw method, I don't know how they hold everything in place. I've only known the one way. I really wish I could remember the name of the woman who taught me to knit. She lived down, because we lived on, this is way back when I was 9. I was in 4-H, and I took knitting, and she lived, we lived on Highway F, and I would go on F towards the pool. I would go up the big hill, and then there was a county road that cut by, and it was, you took a left, if you were heading into Broadhead, you took a left, and you went down that road, and she lived in a house down that road. She was an older lady. Well, she seemed older to me. I was 9. What did I know? And I went there just a few times, and then I just kind of quit. And I didn't understand. I don't think I was ready to understand everything. So when you're purling and you're going from the one needle to the other, there's a tendency to be a little loose. Just be careful of that. Come on. When you slide it off, make sure you give it a good little tug and cinch it up so you have it be as even as possible, because otherwise you'll end up with large gaps, and that can it can ruin the uniformity of the lace work. hope everybody's doing well. It got all gray and cold out here. I was kind of disappointed. It's been so warm. But still everything's covered in pollen out here. Ugh. Isaac calls it the tree sneezies. I call it something else, but as I'm sure there are people, there may eventually be kids that are looking at this or whatever. I really am not going to call it what I call it, but he calls it the tree sneezies, and I think that's funny. I made protein blueberry muffins, and I'm going to have one when I get off here because I am hungry and I really want one. Gabriel, how did you do on your test? Did you do okay? Your mother wants to know, how did you do, darling? All right, so on our last needle. Now obviously I'm not going to be knitting, doing as this says, which is increase and then knit 15. I'm just going to do a quick increase to show y'all how that works once I have everything locked in place with the purl stitch. But I also want to show you what a purl stitch looks like when you do it in the round. Oh, you take it, okay. Well, I know you will do fine. You are a very smart young man. Yeah, by the time you get to round 30, it's basically all yarn overs and knit two togethers. You're at the point of the pinwheel, so you're going to have excuse me. So it's all knit two togethers, yarn overs, with one knit stitch per repeat. I hope you went to where I got that from. Knitting on more than one needle is way not scary. And this pattern will show you how not scary it is. It really, I think, was kind of the eye-opener for me. I was so worried that I was going to fail at this. I think you'd be happier too, but you know, I've only been saying that for I don't know how long, so. I think you'd be happier learning different tips, skills, and tricks and showing other people how the hell to do food good, so. Okay, so when you're getting to the end, you're gonna have a purl round that has this kind of, it's going to look like that. Obviously it'll be much more open. It'll look a lot more like that. But this gives you a general idea. Now what the last one has you do, the last round, it says to increase stitch in next stitch. Now you can do, like I said, the traditional knit in, like I showed you, and then go into the back of the stitch, yarn over and pull through. And that gives you 2 stitches in 1 stitch, which is a perfectly fine when it doesn't have a problem. There's no problem with that. In fact, I think for this one, I think the reason I did this is because trying to do a make one in this didn't work very well, because at the end it's all these yarn overs that you're doing, and it doesn't work as well. Now I'll show you the, now if you were going to do, and that says, you know, then knit a bunch. So I'm gonna knit a couple. But let's say you want to make one traditional. Or you want to do a make one. Hi, Brenny. To make one, now you'll see when you're knitting, here's your loop. Here's your working yarn here. That's attached to the loop. What you can do put that on there, and then knit it just like you would a traditional knitting stitch. You've essentially created a stitch using the yarn on here, so it's on the same level and everything. Now, and there will be a little bit of a crinkle. That's just the nature of it. But let's say you have to make one. Let's see, that was make one. One is make one right, one is make one left. The other way to do it is instead of going under, go over. But instead of knitting it traditional, you go into the back of the stitch. Just like with that, you just go into the back. This is called knitting through the back loop. It's another term. And that gives your new stitch the correct twist. So I'll find a pattern sometime that has those things, but those are different ways that you can make stitches in this. But I would recommend where it says to make a stitch, I would really recommend just going into this stitch, right? Then going in the back. So you get your two stitches that way. And that'll give you a much more uniform look, especially with all these little lace openings you'll have. Okay? And then it says to cast off purlwise. To cast off purlwise, let's pretend we've gotten all the way around. What you're going to do is, I've showed you the knit bind off. This is the same thing. You purl a stitch, okay, but you do it loose. Don't snug it up at all. Just let it be loose. Purl another stitch, loose, and then slip that stitch over, and then you purl the next one, pull it over, and you'll get, it's kind of a little bit opposite. And take your time, you don't have to go fast because you want it to be loose so it will have a round shape. Oh my God, they're doing yard work in my yard. Yay. That, if you can see, is a purl. That explains the sound I heard earlier. I'm gonna go shut my door. That marginally helps. What are they doing? Oh, they're weed whacking. That's what they're doing. They're weed whacking. All right, so that is the different things that you will find to do with this doily style washcloth. Again, like I said, you can do it on any kind of, this is if you're actually going to use it as a washcloth. You could use wool, you could use acrylic, any mix, as long as it's a size 4 worsted weight, size 7 needles, if that's what you're going to use, as a size 7s. If you screw up, you can always just take it all apart. But you can see what I did here, how far I got. And if your stitches aren't even, that's okay. You can always just take it apart, ball your yarn back up, try again. That's the nice thing about knitting and crocheting, is it's just yarn. You can very, very easily just take it apart and start over. It might be that I've had that happen many times where I've had a particular pattern in mind. I found a beautiful yarn to do it with, and it did not work. It just didn't work. I could not get the stitches right. I could not get the tension right, and I was frustrated, and I tore it back, 3 times. What that tells me is I'm not to do that particular pattern right now. I need to put away that yarn and pattern and find something else and come back later and do the pattern. The one I showed with the lace work that I'm doing now, it's called the garden wall, or garden trellis, no, garden wall shawl. It's from Jane Austen Knits, and I have tried to make it 3 different times. I finally have a yarn that it's working with, and I'm very happy with it. So I look forward to being able to show you how that all works. You want something that's very satisfying. It's just tearing that out. It's almost like one of those ASMR things, except I can't go as smoothly as they do. But the sound, you can't hear it, but the sound it's making is this little popping noise. And it's very kind of soothing. See? So that is where I'm going to be today. Tomorrow at the same time, I'm going to do a crochet one, and I am thinking about showing you how to do my round scrubby that my best friend Shelly and I came together and created. It's gone through a lot of different mutations over the years, but it's a fast project. It's an easy project. So I have a pattern written out for it that I can post. I don't mind anybody using it. I just ask that you don't sell it. Sell the pattern. You can sell anything you make from that, but I ask it when I post a pattern, I ask that you not sell that pattern, because I'm not going to make any money off of it, and there are a lot, and I'll be honest, there are a lot of very similar scrubbies out there. So anyway, and that's something when you are doing patterns that I'm trying to be very careful with, is the patterns I'm using are free patterns either offered by a large company, which often has their patterns on their ball bands, or they're listed in Ravelry as a free pattern, and they often, the authors of those patterns have paid patterns, and that's one of the ways that they make a little money. So if you do, so I'm trying to show just free patterns and linking to whom the patterns belong to, because I don't want to steal from anybody, and I want everyone to know I'm not making any money off of any of this at all. And it's in the craft world, you have to be a little careful. And some paid patterns aren't very good, and some are very great. It just really depends. But if I do end up showing a pattern that I have paid for, I will make sure to link where I got it from. So if you like it, you can go get it. If you haven't signed up, if you've been following along and you're really having a good time and you're enjoying it and want to keep doing more, but you need more of a community other than just me sitting here blabbing at you, go to Ravelry, RAVELRY.com. It's free. They've got millions of users all over the world. There are forums where you can do yarn swaps, ask questions about patterns. There are designers, independent and professional, who they'll offer some of their simpler patterns for free, and others they offer for pay. Usually, I haven't seen anything for more than $10. And the $10 patterns are very complex and have pages and pages and pages of things. But some of them will go for as low as 99 cents, but the average I've seen is about $3 to $5 for a pattern. And these patterns have been tested, they've been edited, they've done a lot of work getting that pattern together to sell. So if you like a pattern, buy it and show them a little appreciation that way, especially during these hard times right now where everybody's sitting there wondering where their next paycheck is coming from. I'm really enjoying doing these. I hope that they are helpful to some people. I'm not sure if anybody's getting any use out of them or not, but they're helping me mentally, which is good. And I like pretending I'm talking to everybody out in the world. Anyway, so that's it for today. I will be back same time tomorrow with a crochet pattern. I'll post it tomorrow. It's going to use anywhere from a size G, H, or I hook. and a medium worsted weight yarn. If you have the ability, grab some cotton yarn. If not, acrylic for practice is perfectly wonderful and fine. And when you finally get to the cotton, it will be just fun to work with. And I just thought of that. One thing that's different about cotton versus acrylic is cotton tends to be a tiny bit slipperier. It's a smoother, the Lily Sugar and Cream is a very smooth worsted weight. And if I recall right, Bernat Handicrafter is very similar in its smoothness. So it slides very easily over the fingers, but it also can dry, it absorbs. So if your fingers start feeling dry while you're working with it, put a little lotion on, give your hands a break, because the cotton really does kind of absorb your oils and stuff. I mean, it doesn't show. You can wash it when you're done. But yes, that's something that you will deal with. Okay, so we'll see everybody tomorrow. Bye-bye.